Hello and welcome back to the New Mexico Rancher. So in honor of National Bee Day, we're going to be showing you our honeybees. So honeybees are a critical part of our just keeping things growing. They're part of the natural pollinators. Although these, I think, are these the African? No, these are not African bees. Those are nasty boogers. Where do we think these came from?
They're a mixture of Italian and Carolina.
So Italian and Carolina bees. And so today will be covering our beehives. So sometimes farmers will actually rent a beehive to help with pollination. And that is a good thing. I forgot to put my bee suit on. There's some some beekeepers that are more daring than we are. So Brandon right now is checking this hive here. When we moved, they weren't quite as established, and we believe that they requeened since we moved them here. So last time we opened them up, they were still organizing, and so Brandon's just going in and checking to make sure that the queen is indeed laying. We had 2 struggling hives that we combined, and so he's just making sure that they're doing okay. So how's it looking?
Nothing yet.
So what are you looking for?
So right now I'm looking for brood or eggs or larvae like that. So there's larvae in there.
It's hard to see.
Very hard to see.
But
there's the queen right there.
Wait, where?
Right there.
So she's significantly bigger than the rest of them. No.
Right there.
Oh, yeah. So she's significantly bigger than the rest of the bees, and she's the only one that can lay female eggs. Contrary to popular belief, a worker bee can lay if the queen is missing. There's a natural birth control hormone that's released whenever pheromone that's released that prevents anybody else from laying whenever there's a queen in residence. But if she dies or leaves, then a worker bee may start laying, or if she's sick, a worker bee may start laying. And if they do lay, they produce drones, and drones are the boy bees. And the boy bees are pretty much useless. Their sole job is to mate with the queen on her maiden flight, and then after that they don't really serve a purpose. And every winter, if there's any drones, they'll be kicked out because the honey needs to be eaten by the worker bees.
Alright, so they're
doing okay?
They're getting there. They're making it. So we're just gonna keep letting them do their thing. She's got a queen, and so come here in a little bit. We may give them a little food just to help boost them a little bit.
But there's a saying, if you find them in July, you let them fly, because they'll swarm if they get too many bees in the hive and not enough honey. So at this point, if we were to see that they were trying to swarm, we wouldn't want to capture them and put them in a different hive, because there wouldn't be enough food for them to make it through the winter. So we use burlap in the smoker to simulate a forest fire. And the burlap burns cold or cooler, so we don't, add a bunch of heat to it. But the honeybees, they smell the smoke, they think that their house is on fire, And so they gobble up a bunch of honey, and it makes them kind of sleepy because they're full and it's harder for them to fly, and so they're less likely to sting. So the top box is called a super, and that's the honey that we will harvest. And then the bottom one is called a deep, and that's where the honey's stored for the bees. And you never steal from the deep, because that's what they need in order to make it through the winter. So Brandon's just scraping off some of the beeswax. They were creating comb.
Oh, burr comb.
Burr comb. And bees are pretty interesting. They will.
You're not supposed to do that.
You're not supposed to scrape off the burr comb?
You're not supposed to put the wax on the ground, but do it anyways.
Oh. Are you supposed to gather it up?
Yeah.
Can they reuse it though?
No.
But does it attract critters?
Yep.
But this metal part, after Brandon takes this off, this metal part here is called a queen excluder, and this part here, and it's smaller, and so the queen can't get up here, so we don't have any concerns about there being any larvae or eggs there. And so
Right.
do you want the... Okay.
So that's all. So this is all nectar. It's not honey, it's nectar.
It's darker.
Yep. And then this here is all capped honey.
Here is the nectar.
This is capped honey, and the difference between the honey and the nectar is they've evaporated the water. I think it's got to go to like 12% water, and then that becomes honey.
And honey, as long as there's no water in it, will last forever. They have found honey in
Tubes.
yeah, the pyramids, and it's still fine. If you add water to it, it starts fermenting, and that's how you get mead.
Alright, so they're looking good.
Oh, good.
They, I want to say this is a box we put on like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Let's see what this one looks like here in the middle.
But a lot of the honey in the box, the field, oh come on, zoom. It's not zooming, but the field right here on the other side of that fence is all pumpkins. And so the honeybees have been gathering the pollen from the pumpkins and turning it into honey. And so whenever there's a bunch of things blooming, they call it a honey flow. And that's usually the best honey of the year.
I can probably use another box.
Okay.
You know, they're tidying it up now.
Well, hold on. So they have to draw out, these were, all of this honeycomb is wax that they pulled out on the frames because we entered empty frames in, and they had to pull out all of that comb before they were able to fill it. We wear white bee suits because it keeps the bees calmer. They don't like black. So if you think about a bear, all they see is a big black, big black nose, and they're more inclined to sting it. That's how they keep them, keep their hives safe. And so beekeepers will wear white coats. And Brandon's wearing gloves because, what kind of gloves are they?
Neoprene?
Neoprene, that's what I thought. The neoprene gloves,
I think my smoker went out.
the bees don't like it.
That's embarrassing.
And so they're more inclined to not sting. So we have an entrance excluder on here so that the guard bees have less to guard. They're doing a little dance to say, this is where we found pollen. On some of them, you can see little yellow dots on their back legs, and those are pollen pouches. And that's how they bring the pollen back.
I think this one was hurting a little bit last time too.
Without the queen excluder, every time Brennan takes something off, he has to make sure that the queen hasn't crawled out, because if we accidentally knock the queen off and she finds another home, this whole hive will just disintegrate.
Looking a little better, eh?
Yeah, there's a lot of bees. How many bees can a colony have?
Well, it depends on how big your colony is, but these will probably run around 30,000.
Saw a drone, but it disappeared. So that right there is a drone. You can see that they're bigger than the bigger than the worker bees.
Ready to watch them go down?
Yeah.
Just float a little smoke across it, and they disappear. Go get some honey. That way you don't sting me.
The nature of the hive is determined by the queen. If you have a more aggressive queen, you'll have a more aggressive hive. But if you change the queen out, it'll change the dynamic of the entire hive.
We like to run gentle bees.
We do. That sucker looks loaded.
It feels very full. Ooh, she's laying all the way out here. I need the frame holder upper.
Okay. There's an order to the frames. You want to keep them in the same order. That way you don't mess up her laying, because she lays in a
Pattern.
she lays in a pattern. From the inside out, from the middle out, and then from the inside out. But so there's different philosophies and different styles on the type of frames that's ran. We ran, these are not top bar hives. What are these called?
Langstroth?
What?
Langstroth.
Langstroth hives. And so we give them a foundation to build the comb on.
Well, the box itself is called a Langstroth hive or setup, and then we run classic foundation frames. So you have foundation versus foundation less. And because our growing season out here is so short, we opted to go with foundation, so all they have to do is build it out right away.
Someday I'd like to build, if you've seen the mason jars with the honeycomb inside of it, what they do, oh, I'm sorry. If you've seen the mason jars with honeycombs in them, it's from they take the mason jars and they take the mason jars and they put a slab of wood and cut holes out, and then the bees will build the comb inside the mason jars. I'm hoping maybe next season we'll be able to do that.
I think we can do it this season.
You think so? We've got enough time left?
We just got to build the box, or the top. This thing is full.
Brandon's a solid 6 inches taller than I am. So when he goes to look at it, I'm too short.
So this is ready for a box on top.
Okay. So a lot of our boxes we bought from a retiring beekeeper. So that's where you can see names on top of the frames. But we've surpassed what we have already built, so we have to go and build. So you can buy kits where it has the wood and it has, or the foundations, and you just get some finishing nails and hammer them together. So that's what we're going to be doing the next couple of nights, so that we can build the frames to put the supers on.
It's all looking good.
If there's not enough natural pollinators, farmers will hire beekeepers to drop some hives off on their farm during the honey flow, to ensure that they have a greater harvest. So that's kind of cool. And sometimes you'll see trucks going down the freeway with a whole bunch of funny looking boxes and then netting over the top of it. And those are the beekeepers moving them from coast to coast. They'll move them into the orange groves to ensure that in California and Florida, and they'll move them into the almond fields, and they won't stay for the whole year. They'll just do it during whenever they're blooming, and then move them to their next appointment. Bees don't fly at night, and so if you're in the process of moving a beehive, you have to do it after dark.
Okay, so he needs a box.
Did you see the queen?
I did.
Oh, the careless weeds in the way. Bees won't sting until one of them is smashed or feels like the hive is threatened. And then they release another pheromone, at which point the attack goes out. And then all of the bees will attack. Now bees, they've got a stinger with a barbed end. And so when they sting you and they pull their stinger out, it kills them. It rips their innards out and their life ends. But bees have a very interesting life philosophy. It's the greatest good, so they're willing to sacrifice themselves for the good of their colony.
So we put a box, a second super box on these guys. Let's see if they've done anything. If I remember, they were brand new frames, right?
Yeah.
So they had to draw it all out.
Shoot. Is this bee on the inside or the outside?
Which one?
There's one buzzing me right there.
It's on your head.
Is it on the inside of my head?
No.
Thank you. There's nothing more unnerving than a buzzing sound. You're not sure on which side of the veil they're
They've
on.
already pulled this out. They are.
Hold it still. So this is the part, this is the frame that we put in down here, and then they pull it out.
Yep.
And then start storing honey.
Which they've already started.
It's fantastic.
So they're going to pull this one all the way out.
And again, they work from the inside out. And so the ones on the outside probably won't have as much work done on them. Maybe they will.
I think we're just going to leave it.
Cool.
I don't see any reason to go in there.
How often are you supposed to check on your honeybees?
Oh, there's a lot of different theories out there, but I typically go 2 to 3 weeks in the summer. 2 weeks if they need a lot of help, a lot of attention. 3, maybe even 4 weeks if they're off and doing. Like this one we checked 2 weeks ago. Bees are at the top pulling. I have no reason to believe that they're going to be swarming. I gave them lots of space and room. So there's no reason for me to go down there and just destroy everything.
So why do you have heavy things on the top of your hive?
So the wind doesn't blow it off.
We have crazy winds here.
It's used as a weight. This was another new one, if I remember right.
Yeah, the top one.
Get rid of all of that.
But honeybees will seal up any cracks, and so whenever we were putting this on, if we hadn't lined it up just so, if we had off-centered it, they would fill that up with wax, and then it would be nearly impossible to get in, because that wax is pretty tough stuff. Oh, I see honey.
Were these new frames?
I'm pretty sure we added that box and that box.
I know this one for sure. They've completely drawn that out. They're on their way to capping this. I'm gonna have to buy an extractor if you want honey this year, because it's gonna be plentiful.
So we've been keeping bees for 6 or 7 years, I think.
A little bit.
And we've only successfully been able to still the honey twice, and one of the 2 times was last year.
That's looking pretty good.
There's things called total colony collapse, and it's where the whole hive just dies.
That is heavy.
So
What they're doing down here.
one of these supers full of honey will weigh how much?
I think one of these is like 60 or 70 pounds, and a deep is like 90 to 110. Yeah, see, this is totally capped. So this is ready to be extracted because it's all capped, ready to go. I just want to stick my finger in it. I want to stick my finger in it.
Just like anything
Should we
else.
just pull out one more and see what it looks like?
I guess so. Pull it
Again.
from the end.
Huh?
Pull it from the end and let's see how far they've gone on capping them.
You want it on the end?
Yeah. Oh, I've got another angry bee. Oh, that's capped too.
Yep, this box is pretty much done. They got that side done. This side they're gonna finish up. So this box is ready.
Awesome.
We could extract 60 pounds or 70 pounds of honey right now.
Extracting honey is incredibly messy because just like your honey bear, yeah, on the side. Just like your honey bear, it is thick and it is gooey and it is messy, and the bees are attracted to it because if they can go out and steal it from another hive, that's less work that they have to do. And so you have lots of bees and lots of stickiness.
This one's probably ready for another box too.
Okay. We'll just have to build them fast.
So
3.
1, 2, 3.
And then maybe 4 for the one on the end.
Yeah, I don't know if I got that many. Good. They're doing great.
So, like Brendan was saying, we don't want to necessarily put a deep, this bottom one here, for the honey because it would be so heavy that messing with the bees could hurt someone's back.
Yeah.
And so we try not to do that. But if we run out of room, the concern is that they could try to swarm and it's too close to winter. We'll get our first freeze in the next 60 days. Yeah. Like mid-September, early October, it'll freeze, and if the bees don't have enough honey, they'll die. And you know, we want to be good stewards of the bees. We want to protect them as much as possible. Number one, I mean, honey is amazing, but 2, they do a lot for the fields that we're growing. You know, they help the alfalfa grow, they help the pumpkins grow, they help anything. I think grains don't require pollinators.
Nope.
But everything else does. And so, you know, this is a good way to help ensure the cows have stuff to eat and we have stuff to eat. And I really like honey. So if you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe, and leave any comments that you have or questions that you have about beekeeping, and we will do our best to answer them. Have a good one.